ich glaube, wir gehen, gesagt, wir sind nicht so.
We're here for a very special event today again, and I'm very glad that you are with us. It's the second episode of Genesis Live, and I don't want to talk much at the beginning, and actually we have a very crowded schedule, so I will tell you up front what we have. I can already tell you will be very surprised and excited about it. And then we directly start. So we would start with a couple of questions, most important ones or most frequent questions that came in from our users. Secondly, we're going to talk a bit more detail about the current profitability situation. I think this is a topic that a lot of you really want to know about, and is probably the most important component for a lot of you when it comes to mining. When are we going to make a ROI, and how much profit are you going to expect to make in the future? And I can already say up front, it's looking very well at the moment, but we will explain it, and we will look a bit more deeper in it. And the last point, we're going to have a very special announcement. I don't want to say too much. We teased it a little bit already. Yeah, I will tell you more when we come to that point. So we will kick off with the question and answer, and we have our great John in the line, and of course Marco, our CFO, is here again as well, which is really great. And John, please tell us some questions from our users.
So, same thing as last time. I'm going to give you guys some hard questions today.
Yeah, shoot.
We'll start with some easy ones, though. So, same thing as last time. We did get a tremendous amount of questions from people in Russian, so we've done our best to roughly translate them. A lot of the questions we got were not necessarily about mining itself. They were about Genesis mining, and I think that's one of the things that people really want to know about. So, one of the big questions is, when did Genesis Mining start, and why did you guys choose to start the company?
Yeah, sure. So I don't want to go. I can talk about that endlessly. It's generally a very exciting topic. I want to keep it short. We started at the end of 2013. That was right when the Bitcoin price rose. October, November 2013. Rose from $100 to about $1,000, and that of course created a huge hype in the Bitcoin world. We were already involved in the community much earlier, but that really led to the point where a lot of hype and a lot of users were attracted to it. And one of the very fascinating things as well by that time was that on December, or a bit delayed, January, Litecoin was gaining extremely its own value. So the Litecoin price multiplied by 30, which led a lot of people also to mine Litecoin. And mining Litecoin was not like the SHA miners with ASIC miners, but it was only already in the only in the early stage. It was with GPUs. So that's why we kicked in. We have built up a huge GPU farm. That was our first one in Eastern Europe, and we directly had the intention. We actually said, okay, we're going to mine ourselves, of course, because we think it's a big deal, and we don't want to miss that. And we did it. We built a huge facility, but then there was so much demand also from friends who asked us, guys, please let us participate, and I will support you, but please, I want to join it. So what we did then, after we had set up our operation, we just served our friends and expanded the farms for them, and from that our business model arose. So that is what we still do. We own a fraction of the farm, which is the farm that belongs to us. We're mining. And besides that, we are offering users the opportunity to very easily use the best available infrastructure and best available electricity prices and setup to get maximum profit out of mining. and I think we have done a fantastic job. And we have expanded now from Eastern Europe to the next farm in China, and from China we went to Iceland, and from then on to other countries. And in Iceland there is now a very large base, and by now we are one of the largest electricity consumers in whole Iceland. We are very proud, and I think everybody knows. Yeah, we are now the key player in the cloud mining space.
Very good answer. One of the other ones that people keep bringing up: how many customers do you guys have right now that you serve daily?
Well, we increased our customers. I mean, from the beginning it was already very popular, but what we're seeing at the moment is really incredible. I mean, the time for mining is very attractive, and especially when we come now soon to the profitability, a lot we'll see. Yeah, by now we have about 60,000 daily customers. And
in the beginning, in the very beginning, we only did when we had the GPU farm. Of course, our customer base was much smaller. Yeah, obviously, because we covered a niche in the beginning, a niche market. But then when we mined more and more script, and then switched over to also offering SHA, and in particular Bitcoin mining, of course this is immensely popular. Mining is still one of the first things people want to understand if they start with Bitcoin. They hear that you can mine something. So that's something which is extremely interesting for a lot of people. And this is a huge market. Yeah. So even if the Bitcoin price now is a little bit lower, there is still so much demand for Bitcoin mining. It's incredible.
Yes.
Yeah. And just to add to the storyline or the history from the previous question, we actually sold when we created or built up this first GPU farm. We already sold 50% of it before it was really started. Yeah, because people know, oh, this is interesting, and they immediately purchased 50% of the GPU farm at the very beginning. Yeah.
Yep. And of course, it's like at the beginning, we keep our fraction, we keep our fixed amount of mining hardware for ourselves. But of course, if more and more people come, they want to join, we are expanding our facility, and that's how we came to this large size where we now are.
Awesome. All right, well, that's good. A good couple questions on the history of Genesis Mining. Now let's kind of shift gears and let's go into more what you guys are doing. So a few of the questions that we got were related to your previous announcement of Genesis Hive. The underlying question really was, what is Genesis Hive going to mean to the everyday users, and why should they care about it?
Sure. Yeah, so Genesis Hive is, I think, a fantastic example of one of our products that we have launched after or next to our cloud mining offer general. It is a key feature and a key tool that we are using internally for monitoring and examining and optimizing our farms. So we can basically say each customer is benefiting from Genesis Hive. Genesis Hive is currently the key tool in the market for monitoring large-scale build-outs, and there is no comparable product. It is so advanced that you can do everything. You can measure the speed of the fans and also other, like for example heat map. You can check what miners are the hottest, and how can you optimize the structure so that really also it's temperature optimized. And also when it comes to the deployment, I mean, for example, if you see, I mean, a big deployment, there are coming thousands of machines, and with Genesis Hive, one person can deploy 1,000 miners. It's normally an effort that you cannot even compare, but with the Hive, there's a lot of things that is done automatically. You just plug them in the network. Hive is directly detecting when a new miner comes in the farm. It's putting it to the farm, allocating it, and putting it in the monitoring. And then you can have it very conveniently on your screen and monitor all the facts about the miner. And even Hive is going that far that it is even tweaking the frequency and tweaking the temperature.
Exactly.
to have the optimal performance.
So just to give a concrete example, because we experienced some hot days in one of our farms, and then you have really let's say a day-night shift. So during the day it's sometimes a little bit too hot to give perfect cooling, so some of the machines slow a little bit down. So Hive is automatically recognizing, okay, this part of the facility, because you have some hot spots in these facilities, this part is getting hotter than it should be. There are certain limits within Hive, and then it slows down these couple of machines, and then during the night, colder air flows in. Hive automatically detects, okay, these hot spots are now cooling down, and then increases the frequency, and by that gives the optimal result.
Yeah, it's optimizing at its best. I think, there's not much that.
And also for the maintenance teams, it's a huge. If you have thousands of miners in one warehouse, and you know miner XYZ failed, you also need to know where this miner is. Just going and checking every miner doesn't work. So Hive constantly checks the availability of all of these miners. And if something is not right, it will send a report to the maintenance team, and then they can go exactly to the spot and fix the machine.
Right. And just to say, because we're talking about what does it bring to us. You might have heard the big announcement. I mean, we're offering this now also externally. So if you have more than 100 miners, you can contact us and get Hive for your farm.
All right. I think that clears it up. Now getting into the more difficult question that I think is very popular right now. I think Marco Crone, you're probably going to be the guy to talk to for this. What's going on with Bitcoin XT? What really happened over the weekend that caused such an uproar, and what's the future look like?
Oh, that's how much time do we have?
You have 4 hours starting now.
I mean, it would take a long time, of course. Just to sum it up very, very quickly. In Bitcoin, there are certain limitations, and one of the most important ones, which is discussed a lot right now, is the block size. So every block, which kind of keeps the transactions for the last 10 minutes, has a maximum size of 1 megabyte. And this is kind of fixed in the code, and you can change the code. However, something needs to be done in the software. Why is it a problem? It's because the number of transactions is limited by this block size. Each transaction in the block takes some amount of space, around, let's say, 400, 500 bytes. So the number of transactions you can do with 1 megabyte in 10 minutes is very limited. So the obvious question is, why don't we just increase the block size to 20 megabytes, 50 megabytes, whatever is needed? And of course, you could argue that way. However, there's also other people that are saying, okay, maybe it's not a good idea to increase the block size for several reasons. One of them, if the block size increases, there is, let's say, the getting into space into this block is very easy, and the amount of fee I have to pay is very little, because there's kind of no market for the space and the block, which means that the fees are very, very low. Of course, you could say that's a good thing if the fees are very low, but on the other hand, for the miners that have to keep up all the infrastructure or so, they currently get like these 25 bitcoins for the block subsidy, but in the long run, you also need to increase the amount that you get via the transaction fees. So limiting the space in the block might be a good idea in the long run to get, let's say, sufficient fees. But there are other aspects, like that the amount of or the machine needs to be bigger if it has to process larger blocks. You need more disk space, you need more bandwidth, and so on. So there is a huge discussion about this, and actually this discussion already started like 2 years ago when Gavin and Mike Hearn, they kind of are some of the core developers that are interested to increase the block size. Because blocks are filling up more and more now, Bitcoin becomes more popular, so bigger blocks are needed. And let's say 2 years ago, when blocks were kind of 5% or 10% full, not many people were interested, and they were basically just saying, okay, it's not in important topic right now. Yeah, which was right at the time, but it somehow needs to be solved. And we are now in a situation where the blocks are constantly like 500 kilobytes, 700 kilobytes. So the amount of space available in the block is getting less and less. So the question is how to deal with that, and it seems so that among the core developers there is no agreement whether the block size should be increased. There are some developers that say it should be increased. I mentioned Gavin and Mike. There are a lot of other developers, core developers, that say no, it shouldn't be increased. There are even some, or one at least, core developer who says, oh, actually it should be decreased. 1 megabyte is already too much. So there is no, let's say, consensus on the core developer level. On the other side, the users, when we asked our users, are you agreeing with increasing the block size? An overwhelming majority of 90% said yes, we want to do that. Also, the, let's say, users on Reddit, on Bitcoin Talk, and so on, in polls, you will always see users kind of agree to 90% that larger blocks are needed. And also all the businesses, us included, favors to increase moderately the block size, yeah, to like 4 megabytes, 8 megabytes, everything which is reasonable. We're not talking about blocks of the size of several gigabytes. We're talking about moderately increasing the block size. So let's say the sides that said, no, we don't want to increase, or we don't want it now and maybe later, but let's not discuss it now, kind of give the impression, let's say that there were also several attempts to find a compromise. Yeah, Jeff Garchik, for example, suggested in the BIP 102 to increase the block size to 2 megabytes, which is just an increase of a factor of 2 from 1 megabyte block size to 2 megabytes. But this was also not something the other side agreed on. And at some point in time, Mike and Gavin created Bitcoin XT. And Bitcoin XT is basically Bitcoin. It has a few other patches, but let's not go into the technical details. But it's, I mean, the most important thing, it increases the block size from 1 megabyte to 8 megabytes, and it has some mechanism to increase the block size further going forward. And now, a couple of days ago, it was announced that Bitcoin XT is now available. And the implication is that we have somehow two kind of versions of Bitcoin, where the one, Bitcoin XT, only kind of comes into place and really work in a different way, only if a majority of the miners and of the users agrees to using it. So you have this kind of 75% support that you need within the miners in order to kind of make Bitcoin XT really allowing to mine you new blocks. And this is a very, very hot discussion, because this also means that Bitcoin somehow could be forked going forward, or it could be kind of a parallel version. However, as I said, it's only coming into existence, or only starts to producing larger blocks, if the majority of miners already agrees, and also probably the majority of the nodes already agrees to support this. So you could understand this is some kind of voting mechanism which is going on now, an option to vote for larger blocks, but in a very hard way, yeah, because this is, let's say, it would be better if everyone agrees, let's increase the block size to 4 megabytes, everyone is happy, and you have consensus. But now the community, and in particular the core developers, there's a huge, huge dispute about this block size and the way it's now handled. That was a short version.
All right. A real quick comment.
It's also, I have to say that it's very important. It's a critical discussion. It is the hottest topic at the moment. It went also very viral in the mainstream media. Even those are taking care of this now, because it determines the future of Bitcoin, and
yes,
we're all excited where it's going. And hopefully there will be consensus amongst the core developers and the users.
Yes.
All right. And a quick note to everyone listening, we're getting a lot of comments here on the thread. The big news has not been announced yet. You have not missed anything. And those complaining that we haven't shown the live farm yet, we're going to be showing the live farm and much, much more than that. So highly recommend. Sit tight and wait for the big news to come.
Yeah, be patient. Be patient.
I think that's all the questions we're going to have time for, because I know, Marco, you want to get into the Bitcoin profitability, and you had some ideas there. So I'll sign off from here and let you guys take over and get into that.
Sure. Perfect. Yeah. Well, I think we announced it last time, and I think since this is the most important point for probably the clear majority of miners. How is it looking like? What is how are the financials, and how are we going to go forward? And I want to share the screen with you here, and one particularly to go here to see what we're viewing here is Bitcoin Wisdom, and it's showing very well information about the Bitcoin difficulty, the network difficulty. So here are some information about the total hash rate currently deployed in the Bitcoin world. It's an estimation, but it's quite accurate. It's 403,000 terahashes, or 403 million gigahashes, which is about 403 petahashes, which is quite a lot of decent number. And as you probably all know, mining is the most critical part in mining. Is that are the two components. One is the Bitcoin price, and second is the behavior of the difficulty, because the difficulty determines if the difficulty is rising. Of course, if you have a certain amount of hash power and the difficulty is rising, that means you get a lesser share and therefore get a reduced payout. On the other side, if it's falling, that is acting positively on your return, because your share is growing and you get a higher amount of Bitcoin that way. But of course, you also need to know what is the value of the Bitcoins that you get, and that is mainly depending on the Bitcoin price. So these are the two variables, and when we are looking now here to the historical projection of the difficulty over the time, we see that, for example, here on the 9-month scale, that the increase is not that significant. If we, for example, here, for example, on the 2 months, it's very insignificant. It's only a couple of percentages that it went up.
In particular, to compare what happened before. Yeah, I mean, we came from a difficulty scenario where it was kind of the standard that Bitcoin difficulty increases exponentially.
Yeah, that's a very good point, and you can also see it here. I think we saw here the
20%,
going further in the past.
80%,
yeah,
30%.
Yeah, so November 28. I mean, we had it's 20%. We had adjustments of here 30%, 20%. So it really exploded literally last year. And when you compare it to beginning, let's say beginning of 2015,
yeah, negative.
It's here negative.
-6%, -1%, -3%.
Yeah, and that of course is a result of because the Bitcoin price compared to last year is lower, and that of course consequently meant that a lot of miners had to turn off their machines, because their electricity bills were they couldn't cover their electricity bills. And now that is a very good point for all the Genesis mining miners, because due to our optimized setup and good electricity prices, they are still in the race, and they are to be even more precise, especially looking at people that began, for example, at the beginning this year. They, as you can see here, the difficulty the difficulty didn't rise much, and nearly was roughly constant during the whole year, resulting in a very favorable financial situation for everybody that mined with us during this year, and which is really which we are really proud to be able to tell.
Yeah. So it's more or less kind of on the mining market. It's rather stable at the moment, which is good for everyone who is mining, of course.
Yeah. Okay, so well, I think that's from the screen share perspective, and I think what we just want to make clear, summarizing, is that miners at the current situation are in a very favorable position. Not to compare with everybody that mined last year. We don't know how it's going to behave further. The difficulty, whether it's staying on that level, whether it's staying constant, whether it will rise, it's a big question. But what is definitely said is that, with a lifetime contract, you have enough space. The maintenance fee that needs to be covered is very favorable for the current situation. And there are a lot more miners that need to switch off their gears earlier than you would have to be because of the optimized setup. And that means, again, if someone that has a less profitability, less efficiency, needs to turns off the miner, that means that your share is increasing again, and that means that the profitability will increase again. And so now we're all, it's a big question how long the situation will remain, but it's looking very favorable.
All right. Do you guys want to get ready for the big announcement and bring on our special guest?
Yeah, I guess we are. Let me do another screen share again. I think we are. Let me make it here and then share the screen. So the big announcement is you all know that transparency is one of our highest priorities, and especially in a market like cloud mining, transparency is key. Genesis Mining has always we did a lot of effort to provide highest transparency, and we want to bring this now to a new level. We are going to show publicly a live stream of one of our Bitcoin mines. It's not the biggest. We have to be very sensitive, of course, with the IP and with the obligations of our clients. But it is a major farm of us. It's in Iceland, and we want to show it to you. We have the live stream shared on the site live inside of bitcoinmine.com, and when you go in there, it's live now. You can see 3 camera views. One camera view one is looking
an Icelandic flag.
Yeah. So our engineers and Stefan, who is there at the farm, have built up an Icelandic flag here, our logo. When you go over the camera 2, you see it from a different angle, also a lot of other miners. And when you go on the 3rd view, you can also see more miners. Don't get me wrong. I mean, we have security is our highest, also one of our top priorities, and that means that we are a bit limited in what we are showing. But this is one example of a farm that we wanted to use and wanted to provide a live stream. And you can be sure that we want to also view more farms and want to provide more even more transparency on top of that. And when just wanna show the whole site, when you scroll down, you can also read, if you're new to Bitcoin, you can read the 101. We have made together a very detailed information brochure that you can download if you want to get deeper into Bitcoin, but most of you probably are already. And then you can also see very special besides our other popular videos, we have made two high-quality videos. One is showing a build-out that we performed lately in Iceland, and that is exactly the build-out of this farm. And the other is showing an in-depth interview with our CTO Stefan Schindler. And the good news that I want to bring on top now is that we have Stefan on the line, and he is going to he is live with Phil, with our other developer, in Iceland, in the farm. And I'm glad to welcome you here on the screen, on the Hangout, Stefan and Phil. Hello. Oh, I think you're muted.
Yes. Yeah.
I think you're muted, Stefan.
I'm unmuted right now.
That's funny.
Having some technical difficulties. Stand by. Yeah, unfortunately, it looks like it's not unmuting them.
How about now?
How about now?
Here we go.
There we go.
Okay.
Again, we're muted all the time.
Online, but can't get Hangout to work, right? All right, I'm Stefan. This is.
And I'm Phil. Hey.
Yeah. Phil is our programmer who programmed Genesis Hive. And we are still the remaining team here in Iceland. We were a bigger team earlier, but the rest of the team has already left Iceland. And we're going to show you now something that we are extremely proud of. Our new farm.
So, Stefan, let me ask you a question. I mean, you've done a larger deployment, and of course, you're also most part of your life you're at the farm. Can you give us a bit of an insight of how it is? I mean, a lot of people want to know how is it? I mean, they cannot imagine this because this life is so distant, so different from our all-day lives. Can you share some information about that?
Okay, so before we take the tour and go around, the thing is we were going to prepare to be live here on the stream earlier, and just about 15 minutes ago we had to go to get some water and actually cool down our heads, because when you're working, even if you're just like spending 10 minutes in the hot aisle, it's just crazy. It's so hot, and you're constantly surrounded by these machines screaming at you all the time. And we have electricians here that come here from Iceland. They have to be here. And I mean, these are people who are usually used to much smaller, much lower temperatures, and they come out of the hot aisle and they're sweating all over, and they say, "What is this place?" And that's actually what it is. Once it's up and running, you really don't want to shut it down anymore, and you have to just live with it.
Yeah, I get it. And also, it's loud, right? I mean, we cannot hear it now, but it's an immense sound. And I want also to now we are going very soon. Stefan and Phil is going to give a tour through this farm, this one farm that we also show on Live Inside a Bitcoin Mine. But it will. We don't know. Maybe there is a sound protection in Hangouts, but it will be very loud.
The machines that we've installed here now, they have a very high frequency tone. Maybe some of you who are miners and watching can already guess what kinds of machines these are. I told you that if you give me the sound of a couple of machines, like a couple hundred, I can tell by listening to it for a couple of seconds what type of machines are deployed. Even if you have a mixture of machines, I can already say.
Yeah, cool. So let me ask one question, because I also, I mean, since I also get a lot from users questions, they all want to know. I mean, Hive is a big thing. It was announced very big, and we get a lot of requests for it. Phil, you are one of the main developers, or the main developer of Hive. It was a lot of effort, but can you tell? I mean, what are what do you appreciate most that at a functionality that Hive provides that you can use when it comes to build out of a farm or maintaining a farm?
Yeah, we've come a long way from the beginning. When we started with this, basically in the beginning of our operation, we had almost nothing, right? And we started off just collecting simple data and then building up the software piece by piece. always implementing the next part, which was the most important to do at the moment. And always, the more and more miners we get, the more and more interesting the whole structure becomes. And right now, I'm actually quite happy with the state of the software at the moment. And we're improving more and more automation features in the monitoring that allow you to manage a mining farm without even touching anything.
Yeah.
Which is the most helpful part, I think.
There was actually something interesting that happened. So we got some helping hands that helped us put the miners in the shelves, and then we were basically just connecting those miners with the Ethernet cables and the power plugs, and then we were up and ready for the first try. So we switched on the whole farm, and of course, as expected, it made a lot of noise. We stood in the middle, and we were pretty proud with everything. And all of a sudden, the whole farm goes down, like not completely shuts off, but it goes. And you think, damn it, what's happening here? And we had forgotten that we actually had the monitoring hive installed already. It was watching the whole system. It was automatically detecting each miner, putting it in the system, and after about 6 minutes, the pool watcher kicked in. It was automatically configuring the miners for the pool that we had set up earlier.
Updated the software to everything that we needed.
And rebooted the whole farm, basically. And we had completely forgotten that we had activated this feature, and it was taking everything from itself. We didn't really, when you will see how big the farm is and how many miners there are, but we did not configure a single miner on this farm. It was all done automatically with this software.
We didn't go into one single web interface.
Exactly. And I think this is the result of what we have. Our lead developer, Philip, has been involved in the build-out process of many farms from the beginning. And this is, I think, key to have a good feature, to have a good product, because Phil knows exactly what is needed there. And this reflects, of course, in the product.
Yeah, get it. And also another point that people, of course, always ask is about the where is the farm? But unfortunately, this is an information that is we cannot provide. I explained it last time a bit more in detail of the importance to keep this secret, because there is a lot of money and there is a lot of value involved here. And besides the fact that we keep this the address secret, of course, security is a top point for us, and that doesn't mean if we show the farm publicly, that means we're loose with security. Not at all. We have our whole team of security partners that guide the farm, that have sensors if someone is approaching, and we are taking also great care that we are not giving out any intellectual property style sensitive and sensible information. So all that we're showing, all that we are showing is not problematic and is safe to show. But still, it's the first move. No one has done that so far in this transparency, and we are very excited now to see the farm. So, Stefan and Phil, please take the cam and
all right, I'm going to say a little bit once we're walking through the farm. I don't know if you're going to be able to hear me. It's really loud. I'm going to shout, but let's just try this, okay?
I'm going to take the laptop here.
Right. Hang on. Power.
How about this?
Alright, so we're here in the office now. Better not show around, there's a lot of stuff lying around. As you can see, it's raining. We just go directly here. Lots of stuff here. See, we can show this, I think.
I guess we
this
can.
Is the power cables of just one of the 4 sections there. And I can't say it in numbers, but let's just say it's big. Hold on. So, this is the hot aisle. You can see here our flag.
You can see it in the screen too.
And yeah, you can also see it on our screen. Maybe you can show the camera here.
There we go. That's the live stream.
Ah yeah, okay. It's extremely hot. It's extremely loud. I don't know if they can hear me. Andere Seite. Ich habe das Licht angelassen. Wir gehen darüber. Okay. So we have to go somewhere where the light is on.
So this is the cold eye now.
No, I guess not. Okay, maybe we can show this setup a little bit and how neat it is. I mean, these are PDUs. Go a little bit deeper. Let's do it. Here we go. And also the QR codes also. We got those QR codes too. Okay.
Cool, cool guys, very good. Thanks a lot. Perfect. Okay, cool. So yeah, we're back here, and I hope you could you have seen this,
to be honest,
this special event.
I have no clue if you could hear anything that we said when we were there.
And yeah, so and one thing I really want to stress, because this is very important for us, we although we're providing this high degree of transparency, this farm is one of our smaller farms, and it is not problematic regarding security and regarding the intellectual property that is involved in this. We took it very carefully what we are showing, and we are aware of what we're showing, and so there is nothing to worry about in any sense. But we wanted to provide this high level of transparency, and we're sure that this will help the market and will distinguish the legal operators and the illegal cloud mining Ponzi schemes that are there. Sadly, by a large amount of number. But that being said, we are coming to now to an end already to the second episode of Genesis Live. But we want to also top this up with a special announcement. We are going, I mean, because as you can already see now on Live Inside a Bitcoin Mine, these streams will maintain. They will be live all the time, and you can view it. We're thinking about what we're going to put in that to show that one very good idea was to provide a displaying Bitcoin wisdom or the Bitcoin price. That's a very good indication that it's a real live stream. But the problem that Stefan mentioned is that when you put it in the cold aisle, when you put it in the cold aisle, it's not so spectacular. When you put it in the hot aisle, it's getting very hot, and we have to think about a solution. There will something come up. Also, we're going to put some other events in the future that we want to keep in an entertaining character, because we also want to educate people, and educate people is very efficient in an entertaining way. And yeah, education is very important, especially in the cloud mining, because a lot of people are losing money by spending their money for illegal operators that don't have any hardware and that just pretend to mine and run a Ponzi scheme. So, but now to the special announcement. We are going to provide, please note, next tomorrow from 2 p.m. EST to 4 p.m. EST. In this time frame, we are going to show in a way a new promo code that is giving you a high discount of 8%. So this is something that we have never happened so far.
8%.
Yeah, 8%. So. It's a very special one, but it's also not so easy to get. So we will only show it for a couple of minutes within a 2 our time frame, and we are excited. The guys that are patient and wait in front of their screens will be able to see it. And it's especially a high discount that we never gave, and I hope you will like that. And in that sense, we hope you are having a great time. We hope we are going to see each other on the next episode next month again. There are things that are coming up that we want to wrap up, and I think that it is from our side. Do you want to have a short last word, Marco?
Yeah, thanks for joining us and watching Genesis Mining Live. Hope you enjoyed the show, and go to Live Inside a Bitcoin Mine. I think this is a fantastic view on the miners, and if you're lucky, you see some of our guys working on the machines. Yeah,
yeah. Or whatever happens, you never know, right? Thanks a lot for getting in, and until next time. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.